No spin, no bias, no censorship. I'm Dan Wootton. This is Outspoken episode number 315. And wow, the elite class, the Westminster swamp, the regime media, they are now in full-on panic mode, folks. Saturday's Unite the Kingdom rally changed everything, and they know it. After years, their bid to deride patriots, and Tommy Robinson himself, by the way, as racist, far-right football hooligans has failed, and so the entire narrative has just fallen apart. Now they don't know what to do.
So politics has got to find a way of responding not just to the logic and the kind of questions that you or I might ask politicians. It's got to find a way of responding to that emotional feeling that something has changed in a way that people do not like.
So, of course, the easy strategy as slippery Starmer's corrupt government completely falls apart is to turn on Elon Musk.
Associated in the past of Donald Trump, the world's richest man, said to the crowds in terms that they should turn to violence and in terms suggested it was time to overthrow the elected British government. What's your reaction?
Who the hell is this guy, is my reaction. Just because you're a billionaire, it doesn't give you a right to come and tell us how to run our country. And look, as far as I can see, this guy is a publicity-seeking narcissist who is inciting violence on our streets. And honestly, you know, he should go back to running his car company, and I think, as the Americans would say, butt out of our politics.
And Keir Starmer even told his cabinet today that after the rally, we are in the fight of our times, and that what he saw sent a chill through the spines of people around the country. Well, in my digest next, I'll actually outline the chilling and always somewhat hilarious ways that the MSM are losing the argument, like this CBS News reporter from the US who was hoping to portray the rally as racist.
What do you make of when people call rallies like this racist?
Oh, that's just a buzzword that they've been using for years to try to discourage it. They want to change the West completely and put it under more of an authoritarian rule.
That man just walked in at the perfect time, didn't he? And after the digest, my brilliant superstar panel weigh in. I am so happy to have back with us the social commentator Leilani Dowding, who has been attending a Charlie Kirk Vigil in the US this week, and freedom campaigner and legal expert Elizabeth Fox. She was there at Unite the Kingdom on Saturday. Also coming up on the show today, Piers Morgan goes head-to-head with Tommy Robinson over the crowd size issue. So who was right? Piers, who says there were just 100,000 people, or Tommy, who says 3 million were in attendance? That comes as the regime media are even trying to cancel Holly Valance after she was pictured there. UK lefties continue to go even lower over Charlie Kirk, well crossed to the US for the latest from his vigil, as the world remains shockingly divided over his assassination. And as the government begins to collapse, slippery Starmer about to face even more pressure. Donald Trump right now, he is in the air. He is heading to the United Kingdom, and apparently he intends to challenge Starmer over free speech during the historic second state visit, which does begin when he touches down later this evening. Then, in the uncancelled after show on Substack, Meghan Markle's birthday tribute to Prince Harry is exposed as a fake, as the Sussexes make a cringeworthy new TV appearance to promote Disney. We'll show you new criticism from Tom Bauer. Then our Royal Mastermind, Angela Levin, joins for analysis. And you can sign up to watch at www.outspoken.live. At the end of the show, we'll also be revealing today's Greatest Britain and Union Jackass. And here are your nominees today. Ed Davey, nominated by Darren Donaldson for his embarrassing post following the Unite the Kingdom rally and trying to challenge Elon Musk. It prompted this reply from Darren: one lives in a pineapple under the sea, the other lives in your head rent-free. Paul Overton, nominated by Sarah Booth, the aide to Keir Starmer, who resigned after a rather risque game of shag, marry, kill involving the ever-lovely Diane Abbott. Never thought today's bingo card would include Abacus Abbott and a strap-on adult toy. But hey-ho, when Labour is sinking, they set fire to the boat. And Matt Fry of Channel 4 News, nominated by Alan Shawcroft for calling the Unite the Kingdom rally a far-right protest. So, there are your three nominees. Keep your thoughts and your feedback and your super chats coming during the show. I will read them out before we go today, so do stick with us. But now, let's go. They are panicking. They are melting down. They are realizing their strategy, which, let's be honest, has succeeded for years, to deride ordinary patriots as racist, as far-right football hooligans, as violent thugs, is now in total collapse. And now they're testing new strategies to try and break down the very obvious revolution that started at Tommy Robinson's Unite the Kingdom rally in London on Saturday. Because even though the regime media keeps using the official police 150,000 figure, they all know that the number of patriots in attendance was at least 10 times as big. At least. An incongruity that Katie Hopkins summed up in her incomparable style.
Tiny rally in the UK, so small. It was called the Unite the Kingdom rally, but obviously they weren't uniting anyone. I mean, they were just racists and fascists and Nazis, particularly the Black Christian Choir, and the Maoris as well should be ashamed of themselves. And no one turned up. Like literally 2 or 3 people turned up, like hardly anyone was there. And if you look at the aerial footage from above, you'll see that the streets were empty. I mean, Tommy was basically on his own. I mean, he's not even called Tommy, is he? He's actually called Stephen. Yeah, that's not even his real name. I mean, if you believe the bull in the mainstream media right now, there's probably more bull at the BBC than there is in this fellow.
So even though the MSM pushback is dark and twisted, in some ways it's also hilarious, right? Look at what happened when the left-wing US network CBS tried to paint Saturday's event as racist.
What do you make of when people call rallies like this racist?
Oh, that's just a buzzword that they've been using for years to try to discourage it. They want to change the West completely and put it under more of an authoritarian rule.
You couldn't make it up. That guest walked in at the perfect time. And even though all her colleagues are using dark and devious strategies and tactics, LBC's Sheila Foghorn was left speechless for once when a Green Party member rang in to reveal she'd joined the march after stopping listening to the MSM lies about Tommy.
A member of the Green Party. You know, I come from a very liberal, lefty, rah, rah, rah. That has always been my vibe. She's given so much to charity. She seems like a really decent person. She's rah, rah, rah. So I looked into it and I read her essay and I kind of spent pretty much the next couple of years reading everything I could about it and found that actually, no, everything that people had said she had said and people were thought, you know, it wasn't true. I then realised that maybe I shouldn't just be believing everything just because my side said it were true, right?
Well, that's progress. That's good.
I never looked into Tommy Robinson other than just, you know, he's right-wing thug, isn't he? Bit thick. So read everything I could, saw a lot of his interviews, and just realised that he wasn't saying what I had been told by the left wing for the last sort of 10, 15 years that he was saying. It was not as black and white as I had been led to believe.
Well, nothing is.
And nothing ever is it, right?
No.
So the whole J.K. Rowling, then this, and I just thought, you know what? I'm going to go and see. So fed up of being told stuff and then finding out actually that's not what it is.
That was a Green Party member. They are losing the narrative as their lunatic presenters literally tie themselves in knots. Watch this.
Technically English, you need to be white.
No, not exclusively. You
Right.
need to have ancestors who are from this country that have been here more than one generation.
Okay, so we now say that to be ethnically English, you need 2 generations of your family to have been born here? 3, 4?
No, I think you need to have some ancestors who have been here for
Some.
hundreds of years.
Hundreds
Because
of years?
It's an insult on your intelligence and mine, Tom. You know, Tom, that your
Tommy
sordid
Robinson's
ancestors
family,
have been
Tommy
living
Robinson's
here for
family came from
thousands of
Ireland.
years.
His grandmother
Your
was
ancestors,
Irish.
Tom, have been living here for thousands
No,
of years.
I got myself right. Tommy Robinson's mother was Irish. So
Yeah,
is Tommy
so.
Robinson ethnically English?
No, he's not. He's half.
Okay. It's a confused picture. Neil, thank you very much.
It's not a confused picture at all. You are trying to make it a confused picture. You are trying to make it about race. The sweaty little mess Lewis Goodall was even worse when his attempts at gaslighting and humiliation of patriots didn't work. He just got mad and ended up refusing to continue the debate because, again, he knows he's losing.
You know, Elon Musk came through on a live link talking to Tommy Robinson and so on. Very inspiring, as far as I'm concerned. You might not find it, but I certainly do. And
you find Tommy Robinson inspiring?
Yes.
What do you find inspiring about him?
Oh, I'll tell you, for example, if, you had truths to tell, and somebody said to you, well, I tell you what, you better not tell those truths, because you know what? If you do, we're going to lock you up on your own and stay there for a long time. And if you turn around to that...
Oh, no, wait a minute. Tommy Robinson was put in prison because of contempt of court. It wasn't because he was trying to say anything that was some great truth-telling thing. He was done for contempt of court.
Well, clearly you're not a very good journalist, because if you looked at the video...
No, that's just a statement of fact.
Yes, I'm making you a statement of fact. If you looked at the video that was put out, you will see the people that lied in that situation actually telling you themselves.
Well, he made allegations about a refugee boy. The claims were false. The court found him guilty of libel. He later admitted to having been duped into spreading misinformation. No, this is just a fact, Ed. I mean, it's fine. You can find him inspiring. I think he's a thug. That's fine. We can disagree about that. But we have to. There are just facts. There are such things as facts. Whether you accept them as facts or not is irrelevant. They are facts.
No, they're not. No, they're
right.
Not.
Well, okay.
Yeah. What I can tell you, that the opinion that you're putting out.
No, it's not an opinion. It's facts.
It's not shared by the British people.
Right.
It's not shared by.
You think Tommy Robinson is a popular figure among the British public, do you?
Well, I tell you...
in which case, why weren't there 3 million people there yesterday, or 4 million people? There were about 100,000, 150,000 people. It's dwarfed by the sort of numbers that used to turn up to the Remain rallies during the People's Vote campaign, for example.
That's not true.
It is true.
Those as well. No, but I've been there. Have you been there?
Yep.
Have you been there? I bet you haven't.
To the People's Vote rallies, yeah, I reported from them. And I've been to plenty of Tommy Robinson protests as well.
Let me tell you this. This Tommy Robinson is such a thug and such a racist and all the rest of it, yeah?
Well, he spread lies about the Great Replacement Theory. He spread lies about white genocide. No, but it's just true, Ed. It's just true. You know what?
The propaganda.
Oh.
He's sweating and he's twitching because he knows he's lost. His propaganda, his smears no longer work. That snob is no longer going to be in control of what we want to do with our country. Now, predictably, the new Home Secretary Shabnam Mahmood, a very negative force for Britain, is already trying to politicise Saturday's patriotic gathering in the House of Commons because of a tiny number of arrests, something that I will remind you she never did with the Notting Hill Carnival violence or the BLM riots. As Alison Pearson pointed out, 27 police officers were injured, some of them seriously, during the Black Lives Matter process of 2020. A WPC was knocked from her horse, fireworks and missiles were thrown. BBC News called it largely peaceful. It's not possible for the far left to have a violent protest. Watch this.
On Saturday, well over 100,000 protesters marched in London. In doing so, many exercised an ancient right, the right to peaceful protest. But not everyone did. Some turned on the brave police officers who were there to keep the peace. 26 officers were injured and 24 protesters were arrested. Those violent thugs will face the full force of the law. But those who turn to violence on Saturday do not represent who this country really is. When a foreign billionaire calls on our citizens to fight against our ancient democracy, I know this is met by the vast majority with a shake of the head. And that's because we are, in truth, a tolerant country. And yes, we are a diverse one too. You can be English with roots here that stretch back 1,000 years. But you can also be English and look like me. The St George's Cross and the Union Jack belong to us all. They are symbols of unity, a kingdom united, and they must never be used to divide us. The words that were used at the weekend are abhorrent, and I know that the vast majority of people in this country will feel the same way, whether you're a hostile state or a hostile foreign billionaire. No one gets to mess with British democracy.
Interestingly, though, even the Antifa mob behind the Stand Up to Racism counter-protest have admitted it was a massive flop, with the most famous person showing up being Narendra Kaur.
And we've just gotten back from the counter demo against Tommy Robinson. And I think before we go to the lessons, we really have to look at the reality of what this demo was, and that is a pretty humiliating defeat.
Mm-hmm.
If we look at the numbers alone, Tommy Robinson's side seems to have gotten around 1 million, and on our side, lucky if it was 15,000, more likely
More like
10,000.
More like 5.
So I think maybe if we just start there, you know, like how did we get here?
I mean, before that, like, we have to be clear about this. Like, our side was completely defeated. Tommy Robinson won hands down without even a fight. You know, the reports are different regarding the numbers, but yeah, the videos show the police said 100,000. It's obviously had more than that, and our side was totally the counter demo was small, was really tepid, wishy-washy, and what was also surprising is how confident and emboldened the right was, because the demo was attacked at Whitehall, people were trapped, and you know they were ready for showdown.
You are losing because you're haters and wreckers, but it is fascinating that even they admit that these claims of 100,000 in the crowd are lunacy. But by the way, they're also exaggerating their own numbers, because there were not 15,000 people there. There were lucky to be 5,000. Perhaps most interesting to me, though, has been the take from the big beasts of the MSM, including Andrew Neil, who is one of the worst breeds of snobs, who looks down his nose at the people and thinks his job is to stop us getting what we want.
For the first time, Trevor Phillips got it right. This was not, everybody on that march was not on the far right, but there were people on the far right who were on the march, and some of them resulted in entirely unnecessary violence. And I hope, like all violence in any political demonstration from whatever part of the political spectrum, the courts will take a very stern line on that. Free speech is precious, but free speech depends on the ability to express our views without fear of violence. And to put the police in the line on that as well is just unacceptable. So I think, you know, a lot of the march involved people who are just deeply worried and unhappy about the direction of the country. And I think rather than condemn that, we should understand that. There is a broad feeling across the political spectrum that the political class, the political elite, are letting us down. Having said that, I think that a British politics in which seminal roles are being played by Tommy Robinson, Elon Musk, Steve Bannon, I'm afraid that sends a shiver down my spine. That is not the British way and is not the way to go. And that's a direction which fills me with fear if we go further down that road.
Why, posh boy? Seriously, very easy for you to say from your house in Monaco. He's making these comments from the tax haven of Monaco. But even though he is so out of touch, even Andrew Neil understands why the ordinary British people have had enough with the media.
So why are some people giving those figures a hearing, do you think?
Because they feel the mainstream's let them down. I mean, let's not forget, by the summer of last year, people were up to their eyeballs with the Tories. They wanted a change. They had no great faith in Labour, but they thought, well, they can't be worse. Well, lo and behold, we know we've just been discussing what's been happening with Labour in power. And I think as a result of that, and that's why British politics is at a watershed and why the traditional parties are finding it so hard to get support. We've said before, you know, Labour and Conservative, when they won elections, used to get over 40% of the vote. Between them, they can't muster 40% of the vote now. And at a time when the centre cannot hold, when people are disillusioned with the mainstream, they go to extremes, whether it's Jeremy Corbyn's party or the Green Party, or whether it is the Steve Bannons and the Elon Musks of this world. It is not a good time.
Unlike Andrew Neil, who is literally commenting from his house in the tax haven of Monaco when he was at GB News. Because remember, I worked with him at the start of GB News. He literally demanded the bosses pay for a private jet to get him from Monaco to London. So I really don't think we need Andrew Neil telling us that Tommy Robinson shouldn't be involved in the state of Britain from Monaco. So at least Trevor Phillips of Sky News actually went to the rally, and his reporting, which the broadcaster initially deleted, has clearly stunned his colleagues. Watch.
I think the thing that marked out Saturday was that this wasn't just the sort of remnants of the old National Front or BNP, the kind of hardcore of racists who are basically in politics to essentially eliminate or get rid of from this country people like me. This was a rally of more than 100,000 people, of the sort of person that you'd meet in a country pub if you'd gone for a walk. Or if you're going to the theatre, you might line up next to while you're waiting for the loo or a drink at half-time. This was, if you like, the quiet middle Britain. And the significance of that is, for those people to come out in these numbers, first of all, I think is a surprise to conventional politics. It certainly surprised Tommy Robinson, by the way. I don't think they had any idea these kinds of numbers. But more importantly than that, and this is perhaps why you've seen what you've seen with Danny Kruger today, it has given a signal to people on the centre right that the firewall that essentially puts people on this part of the populist right beyond the pale has collapsed.
But have you noticed that the whole tone, even from Trevor Phillips, is to try and say that the politicians need to change to stop this movement, rather than actually just embracing the movement and the patriots ourselves? It's more of the same. Trickery to keep us ordinary folk in our box. And I don't think it's going to work anymore.
What they would call conventional politics, and they're looking for alternatives. I think the other point here is that people like us are constantly quizzing politicians and saying, what's your solutions, what's your policy, and so on and so forth. This group of people who are out on that march, and the people who are like them, their families and so on, don't care about that. What they care about is, do you understand the kind of things that bother me? So politics has got to find a way of responding not just to the logic and the kind of questions that you or I might ask politicians. It's got to find a way of responding to that emotional feeling that something has changed in a way that people do not like.
And I know a lot of people are praising Trevor Phillips because his reporting from the day was honest, and I will give him that. But you're going to want to listen to this too. Because on the ultra-leftist Times radio this morning, he actually went on air and suggested that Tommy Robinson had booked a black gospel choir to perform Jerusalem to close the event for strategic reasons, which is, in my view, a shockingly racist comment in itself. And then you'll see the cretinous presenter on Times Radio, Stig Abel, decide to downplay the entire Christian faith.
Noted, or the people who are reporting it perhaps don't want to say. I mean, it was striking, and this is the last point I want to make about the march. Tommy Robinson had hired a gospel group, black gospel group, to sing Jerusalem to close the march. And that speaks to a kind of tactical sophistication that this movement is acquiring, because they were clearly aiming off for the accusation that this would be a white supremacist event. And if you were there, that's clearly not what it was.
I wonder it's also, Trevor, this sort of religion as nostalgia. This is why I'm suspicious of the rise of religions. In America, it's been long-standing. I think religion in this country is a shorthand for a sort of back to basics 50s sense of the time when there was a quiet parish church with no one else in it other than people born in the village. It's a code for something, religion, I think, sometimes.
Oh my God. They just do not get it. They do not get it. They do not understand what is happening in our country. And Labour politicians, by the way, who are facing extinction still don't get it either. Like the party's uber-ambitious Wes Streeting, who leaned into the ridiculous notion that non-white people were too scared to travel to London when the protest was filled with non-white people.
Knocking on doors and talking to local residents in Clayhall, picking up local issues. Lots of concerns, particularly around crime and antisocial behaviour, which I'll raise with the police. One issue that did come up quite a bit this morning, in a way that I found quite depressing, distressing even, was talking to some of our local residents about how they're feeling, given some of the pictures from yesterday's demonstration and how it's making them feel as people whose parents or grandparents came to this country and for whom this community and our country is now their home. There are lots of legitimate concerns around migration, and lots of them will be shared by people in my constituency who come from all sorts of countries around the world and whose family roots lie in all sorts of countries around the world, but are nonetheless proudly British. This is their only home. And so to talk to people who are thinking about moving, questioning whether this country is safe. This flag behind me at Redbridge Primary School belongs to all of us, not just some of us. And I think our community, which is drawn from so many different backgrounds, faiths and cultures, from people like me, whose roots in this country go back as far as they can be traced, through to people whose parents, grandparents, great-grandparents came to this country and helped contribute to Britain and make it what it is today. This is all of our country. It belongs to all of us, not just some of us. And I think it's really important that we all stand together as a community against prejudice, against discrimination, and celebrate and share in what we have in common as proud Brits, people who love this country, love its diversity and think it's its strength.
Which is exactly what we were doing, apart from that none of the 1 million+ people there do believe that ludicrous line anymore, that diversity is our strength. It clearly is not. As Alison Pearson responded to him, sorry Wes, Jews are afraid to go into London every weekend. Don't see Labour stopping the hate marches. Unlike pro-Hamas protests, there were no anti-immigrant chants, no toxic placards at the Unite the Kingdom march. It was friendly, welcoming, and almost entirely peaceful. Then there's London's Mayor Sadiq Khan, whose destruction of our capital city is in large part responsible for the current uprising, but who always leans into racial disharmony to try and keep power. He posted a sick-making statement where he said, I know many people, particularly from London's diverse communities, are feeling extremely worried following the events this weekend. It takes me back to how I felt growing up in the 70s and 80s, when far-right political parties marched on our streets. The leaders of the far right are once again attempting to hijack our flag, with minorities being intimidated and fear, hatred and division being sown. As Londoners and as proud Brits, we must unite to reject the far right, just as we have many times before. But it's going to take a huge effort from all of us, from people of all races and backgrounds who are willing to stand up for our British values of equality, inclusion and mutual respect. As Mayor, I'll continue to do everything I can to challenge the far right and all those who peddle the politics of fear and division. I urge other politicians and Londoners to do the same. So, I mean, that statement was full of disgusting tropes, right? And it simply didn't acknowledge the fact that there was a completely diverse crowd full of all so-called minorities. But here's the thing. We didn't give a damn, because all we cared about is wanting to save our country. We don't see colour or sexuality. We just see people who are British and terrified about what's happening here. As Restore Britain's Susan Hall responded to Khan, you have always been of the view that those you don't agree with are far right. Well, we are not. There are many worried Londoners, and you're constantly referring to others as far right is divisive in itself. You should show proper leadership, but you are incapable of that. And Advance UK leader Ben Habib, himself non-white, responded, questions for you. Sadiq Khan, you talk of our flag. Do you understand and accept it as inherently a Christian flag, representing the Christian saints of England, Scotland, Wales and Ireland? Do you understand the United Kingdom is a constitutionally Christian country? People are free to practice their own religion, but do you accept that our Christian culture should prevail? Why did you display a photograph of a white family saying they do not represent London? And I thought Carl Benjamin of the Lotus Eaters put it well as well when he said they are in full war mode against the Unite the Kingdom movement now. They saw the strength of the rally and they know it means change. They'll try and hold back the inevitable for as long as they can and pull every dirty trick in the book. And we can see that, right? We can see that all over. And of course, the most obvious person for the elite class to target is their enemy, Elon Musk, who hit back at Ed Davey as a craven coward for trying to get him arrested after his powerful message on stage at Unite the Kingdom on Saturday. But the British Bashing Corporation, well, they're lapping it up.
Elon Musk's message to Britain has done that rare thing, united British politicians from different parties in condemnation, with the Home Secretary Shabana Mahmood tonight calling his language abhorrent. But only one MP trolled Musk with a meme involving SpongeBob SquarePants. That was the Liberal Democrat leader, Sir Ed Davey,
who should just be ignored. He's an embarrassing irrelevance. Mad Miliband went even further.
Very close associate in the past of Donald Trump, the world's richest man, said to the crowds in terms that they should turn to violence and in terms suggested it was time to overthrow the elected British government. What's your reaction?
Who the hell is this guy is my reaction. Just because you're a billionaire, it doesn't give you a right to come and tell us how to run our country. And look, as far as I can see, this guy is a publicity-seeking narcissist who is inciting violence on our streets. And honestly, you know, he should go back to running his car company and I think, as the Americans would say, butt out of our politics.
No, because we need help. We need help because of globalist goons like you who are bankrupting us, who are taking away our borders, who are destroying our country. And Slippery Starmer has declared war with everyone at the Uniting the Kingdom rally on Saturday. This is what he said today to his cabinet. He said that the weekend's protests sent a chill through the spines of people around our country. He told the cabinet they are in the fight of our times. He said that the people who should be particularly scared are many ethnic minority Brits. He said that this fight is between patriotic national renewal and decline and toxic division. And when asked why the PM referred to a fight, even though Number 10 had condemned so-called violence, his spokesperson said, in this country, some people do want to sow division. Some people feel intimidated because of the colour of their skin and their background, and Starmer understands how those people feel. Fuck you, Starmer, seriously. Seriously. Because you have declared war today. You should have listened. There was an opportunity for you to see what happened on Saturday, to listen to independent reporters like me who were there, to mainstream media reporters like Trevor Phillips himself, an ethnic minority, who were there and who were telling you these are just ordinary Brits. These are ordinary Brits who are terrified about the state of our country, terrified about the fact that their young daughters are being raped and sexually assaulted by invaders on their high streets. And you could have listened and you could have showed contrition. But what you have done today by describing this as a fight and by saying that those scenes of patriots gathering united sent a chill down your spine, well, you have declared war. It's you who has done it, Starmer, and it is sickening. And that is why you got this response at the rally. And now, the superstar panel. Well, I mean, Leilani Dowding and Elizabeth Fox, both with me. Liz, I mean, I couldn't be any more disgusted listening to what Starmer told the cabinet today. I mean, you know, I don't even think about race or ethnicity, right? It's completely irrelevant to me. But like, there you are. Lizzie, you're a mixed race woman. I mean, literally, I was surrounded by non-white people. Like, can you please just try and educate our Prime Minister and the Mayor of London who are just lying?
Their obsession with skin colour is boring. It's I don't understand it. Well, I do understand it because it's so divisive. But they are the only ones that are obsessed with skin colour. That, you know, if we speak about anything that we disagree on their policies, or we speak about the truths that are happening in this country, you're branded a racist. But it's not working anymore.
But I mean, how can he brand you a racist?
I know.
I mean, I don't get it.
I got branded it just from, you know, when I first started dating my husband, you know, I was called a
Lawrence
traitor.
Fox.
You know, it's absolutely ridiculous. You can have an opinion and you can speak the truth. You can speak the facts that are of actual events that are happening in this country, up and down the country, and you will be branded a racist or a fascist or a Nazi for saying so. It's absolutely ridiculous. But it's the oldest thing I think that they have, that they use. It's the oldest tactic. And no one actually mentioned like skin colour. No one was bothered about skin colour. At that rally, there were all sorts of ethnicities. There were Black, brown, white, Asian, you name it, they were there. So does that mean they were all racist and fascists as well?
Of course, 100%. And I mean, Leilani Dowding, I know you're obviously in the States at the moment, which is why you weren't there, but you have attended many of these rallies in the past. Also, by the way, as a non-white woman who hardly ticks the box of, you know, a far-right racist football hooligan thug. But how shocking was it to hear Trevor Phillips, who I think actually really got his analysis right about the people who were on the march, then turn around this morning and say, oh, Tommy Robinson just hired a black gospel choir to sing Jerusalem because it was strategic. It's like, no, he doesn't see colour. There were all types of colours there.
Everyone that wanted to go went there. They went off their own backs. If that choir didn't want to perform, they wouldn't perform. You know, I saw your interviews. I was watching your live coverage, Dan. It was amazing. I saw you interview Brother Wendell, based in Bougie. I saw the crowds myself, all sorts of YouTubers and influence of all races, all and even nationalities like yourself. You're from New Zealand. You were there. You know, you've come to this country like my mother did to assimilate, be part of the British culture, live the British way of life, the Christian way of life. And this is a thing. You know, if I was to go to Dubai, I would behave in the way that they would expect me to behave. I wouldn't, you know, start preaching what I think and my beliefs and dressing inappropriately.
Yes, exactly. You know if you go to Dubai, you're not walking around the mall in your bikini because they are a Muslim country and no one is trying to overthrow that. We are a Christian country, but we're a Christian country led by people who either have suicidal empathy, like Starmer, because he actually hates Britain. Genuinely, I really believe that. He hates Britain, he hates the British, he hates the English, he doesn't believe in borders, he wants a globalized world. Or, let's just be honest about it, people, Leilani, who are of the Muslim faith and who do believe that we are not a Christian country, and they want to change it.
But that's the thing that we see. I think this is the thing. This is why West Streeting had to say, you know, everything's racist. Because if we unite, all of us people of different races, of different nationalities who come to England, who want to live the British way and the English way, if we all unite, we look at the government and we look at the damage that they are doing, and the government don't want us to look at them. They want us to fight amongst themselves. They don't want us to look at all the people that come here illegally, that don't have a right to be here, that aren't checked, and we have to pay for their housing. We have to pay for their food. We have to pay for them. Unlike the people that come here legally and contribute into the system. They've had their backgrounds checked. We know who they are. We're seeing criminals coming over here and they're not being deported. Like, the whole thing is crazy. And this is what British people are upset about. And when I say British people, I mean races, different races that are from here and people that are living in Britain. This is what we are seeing. And so, like I said, people like West Streeting, Ed Miliband, they want to call us names so that when we unite together, we're not looking at them anymore and the destruction that they're causing this country.
Of course, the oldest argument in the book from the mainstream media is there really weren't that many people there. Well, Tommy Robinson has said hell no to you. Posting today, our Unite the Kingdom rally was officially the biggest protest in British history, and we're just getting started. He says over 3 million attended. And when you look at the aerial footage, it's very difficult to deny that. But of course, Piers Morgan, his arch nemesis, responded saying nonsense. 10 times as many people turned out to protest against the Iraq War in 2003. And Leilani Dowding, this is something that we see the mainstream media do. It's a ploy that they use, right? Because they did it with Trump. Do you remember? Right up until he was elected in 2016, it's like, oh, no, he's lying about the crowd sizes. He's lying about the turnout. Well, you know, the elections sort of proved him wrong. Mm-hmm. And honestly, we were there on the day. I mean, Lizzie will tell you, we were there on the day. And when the estimate from the police came through of 110,000 people, it was like, are you taking the piss? I mean, it is so clearly 10 times that. I mean, I was just speaking with my producer who was making the point that think of how many people fit into Wembley Stadium. And you know, when you leave Wembley Stadium and there's that path to the Wembley Stadium station, that's 100,000 people. This was gridlock throughout the entire central London streets. So why does Piers Morgan just immediately accept this line from the police, which was clearly balderdash, Leilani?
You know, they've been doing this as well. The lockdown protest was where I met Lizzie. They would reduce the numbers by insane amounts in order to make it look more insignificant, right? They don't want people to see the significance and the number of people. Now, they're not showing as well the people that couldn't even get over Westminster Bridge because the bridge was too busy. The streets were too busy. You couldn't have any more people in the area because people would get crushed. So there were people the other side of the river, the south side, that couldn't get over. So many people showed up to this, and they just don't want you or to know. And if you don't see the footage that's all over social media, you wouldn't know. And there's a few good things that have happened. Like a friend of mine said that her mother went, and she said it was the first time that her mum actually realized how biased the BBC was, because she listened to the reporting after actually being there herself, and it doesn't match. None of it matches. And I will say that, I am absolutely gutted that I couldn't have been there because I'm in America. But so many people in America saw the march and they've come up to me. I've worn my Make England Great Again hat. They say, oh, you're English. Did you see the march? Like, tell us about the march. They were so intrigued to know. And they've seen this rally all the way over here in America. So, the global eyes are on this now. and there's no lying. People aren't going to believe the lies anymore.
Because Americans know that this isn't extreme. You know, Andrew Neil's speaking about mainstream American figures like Steve Bannon and Elon Musk as if they're extremists. It's like they're not. But seriously, I mean, Lizzie, there's just no way that the official crowd estimates were anywhere near to correct. There's just no way.
No, they did this, like Lani said, they did this with the lockdown protests. Do you remember, Lani? They said that there was one which was huge. It was the anti-lockdown one. They said there was 250 people there. And there were absolutely tens of thousands.
Yeah. It's a tactic of the deep state, isn't it? It is a tactic of the deep state.
I always say to people, don't listen to the mainstream media. And I think the reason that they're pretty much in tatters now is because we have social media. We have people getting out their phones and going live. We have the alternative media. We have people like yourself that go out and you're doing proper journalism. You're out there at the event, showing the people that are there, showing what's going on, showing the level of unity, not hatred, which is what they're always trying to portray us as thugs and aggressive and negative.
And the thing is, Lizzie, look, if there had been violence there, like if I'd seen it, of course I would have reported it. I was always very clear. I was there as an independent journalist. I wasn't part of any organization. That's what's so important about these independent journalists on the ground, because we will report the truth. Whereas you could tell from the mainstream media coverage, they only wanted violence. They had predicted that there was going to be violence before the event started. So this is what happens with the mainstream media. They write their headline before the event even starts. And I thought it was hilarious today, although I love Tommy Robinson's response as well, that the news agents, you know, the awful news agents, I call them the fake news agents, Lewis Goodall, Emily Maitlis and John Sopel.
Yes.
They're freaking out about the fact, and this is the quote from them, "I don't think it's beyond the realms of possibility to imagine someone like Tommy Robinson now appearing on Question Time. Are the BBC and other news organisations terrified of looking out of touch with the will of the people?" But as Tommy responded, "We don't need Question Time," with 3 laughing face emojis. "Dinosaurs don't understand what's happened. They're irrelevant now." And Leilani, it did make me laugh. It's like, I'm sorry, as if anyone has thought for the past decade that Question Time represents the country at all. I mean, look at what happened to Lizzie's husband, Lawrence Fox, when he went on Question Time and literally expressed the thoughts of 90% of the country when it comes to that horrible little weasel, Meghan Markle. It was totally the majority view of the country, and it was the beginning of his cancellation. So the idea that, like, Tommy Robinson needs to go on Question Time to gain respectability is laughable.
No, we don't need the mainstream media anymore, and people don't believe the mainstream media because of the disparity of what they're seeing in real life and what they're hearing on the mainstream media. And look, like I said, I'm in the USA. I managed to watch the whole thing on your YouTube, and that's where other people have watched it as well. The mainstream, I don't think, in the USA has been covering it, but we're a small world now, and we've been linked together by social media. We can see what's been going on in the USA, and the USA can see what's happening here, and they can see all the lies that, you know, Starmer's saying on a daily basis, on his own social media feeds, and then we can compare it with what, you know, people like us see in real lives and what we share with people 100%. And our experiences.
But it is horrible, Lizzie, what they do to individuals, because, I mean, good friend of yours, she was at your wedding, Holly Valance, you know, major star, you know, famous actress, famous pop star, like very good human being. And I was so delighted when, you know, I saw her at the rally on Saturday. One of my friends had messaged me saying, "Oh, you've got to look out for Holly." You know, so I went out, we had a chat. Great person, you know, great patriot. And Lizzie, the mainstream media are coming for her because she was at the rally, you know, and it's like they've loved her forever. And all of a sudden she attends this rally and they turn on her, and they're trying to scare other celebrities, I think, into not attending.
Well, it's to censor people, isn't it?
Yes.
And also anybody that doesn't fit the narrative, and anybody that speaks up or has their own opinions, and she's entitled to go to any event that she wishes to go to. But one thing I will say about the mainstream media is that they are consistent with the cancel culture. They're very
That's
consistent.
for sure. It's the only thing they're consistent with.
Anybody that like her attending that, Lawrence saying what he said on Question Time. Lawrence didn't mention skin color on Question Time, but the person in the audience mentioned his skin color by saying he had white privilege. But that's okay, isn't it? Because white's okay, but anything else is not okay.
Anti-white racism is now just completely acceptable.
And I think what they don't like, and what makes them nervous is the likes of loved people like Holly. Holly is a wonderful human being. She's been very successful, and it doesn't look good for them when people like herself attend these events and stand up for our culture, our traditions, and wanting a safe country. She's got young children and she's worried about things, and she has her concerns, and she is entitled to be patriotic.
Yes, of course she is. And I think people think it's a joke, the idea that Holly Valance is all of a sudden a far-right extremist. Tommy Robinson actually posted in response to some of this mainstream media coverage, Leilani, he just wrote, "We thank Holly Valance for showing courage. Celebrities can help shift the Overton. She's brave and beautiful." Do you agree? More celebrities need to get involved?
I think so. And I think, obviously, like you've said, the cancel culture is a big problem as to why they don't want to. They can have their careers completely wiped out in a second. Obviously, it kind of only goes one way. And it's awful. But, Holly's brave and she's gorgeous, and I'm so glad that she went and joined there, because I know she's been feeling this way for a while. I remember meeting her at a couple of secret anti-lockdown things, and she came up to me, and I couldn't believe that she knew who I was from, me speaking out on Twitter. And I was so flattered, and it was also really encouraging that somebody like her felt exactly the same way. And I'm so glad now that she feels brave enough that she can go and join in, and she can use her voice as well. So it's great. And I really hope a few other people stand up, and, we're seeing the Overton window shift. So maybe, and we saw Ryland. Actually, Ryland's a really good example. He was somebody that spoke up, and obviously there were this massive Ofcom complaints about him, mostly, I would imagine, inorganic, and kind of rallied and produced by a leftist group that's encouraging
it's like
people
confected
to
outrage, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not even probably anyone that was even watching that show, but they've seen something a little bit later on. So, great, good on her, good on Ryland, good on anyone that's happy to speak up and show their face and just say, what everyday British people are concerned about.
The world remains horrified by the truly evil and mentally ill reaction to the political assassination of the legend Charlie Kirk. And it's something that is going to hang over Donald Trump's state visit to the United Kingdom, and certainly overshadows our culture at the moment, because I think it's just been such a wake-up call to so many about how truly degenerate the left, both in the US and the UK, now is. Very shortly, we're going to be crossing live to Joseph Moulton. He is the founder of Flag Force UK, which is raising the colours across the United Kingdom. But he is currently live at Turning Point USA, where there is that massive vigil going on in Phoenix, Arizona. He was due to meet with Charlie Kirk just as he was assassinated. But first, I want to bring in our superstar panel, Leilani Dowding and Elizabeth Fox, because it's been so shocking to me. And Leilani, I know you're in the US and you have attended the vigil in California for Charlie Kirk as well. But it's been so shocking to me to see the completely egregious way that the left in this country have celebrated a death. And obviously we expected it from Bob Villain, but this is everywhere, right? So there are these two jokers, English jokers on TikTok. They run this TikTok page, Like It or Not. And you would look at them and you'd think they were relatively normal blokes. But it was pointed out to me by someone who was very, very fond of Charlie Kirk that they had started to make the most disgusting comedy as a result of his assassination. And I want to play it to you now because I think we have to lean into the horror of what
Kirk just died. Fuck me. He lit up like a fire hydrant. Jesus fucking Christ. Good morning, America.
Good morning, everybody.
Finally, some good news.
Hallelujah. No, that
people.
feels... A man has died. R.I.P. Old Charlie.
Political violence is never the answer.
Never the answer.
Which is why we have Charlie here with us today.
To tell you...
to tell 16-year-olds...
It's not funny.
It's not funny. It's not funny. A man died.
A man died.
Who's going to argue with those 16-year-olds who are just starting off in their education? What uneducated man is going to go to those schools and with his big fat neck, big fat target of a neck, tell them what they should think?
That man had a target of a neck, all right?
Yeah. What was that quote of him, the gun violence quote?
Oh, yeah, like he's... wait, hold on. Let me... My favourite quote from Charlie Kirk is, "It's worth to have a cost of, unfortunately, some gun deaths every single year so that we can have the Second Amendment."
Sadly, he's completely right.
He's
It
so
is
right.
worth the cost of a few deaths.
I think so.
He obviously sacrificed himself
paid the
as one of
ultimate
those
price.
deaths. He paid the price so that Second Amendment could continue. God bless.
God bless him.
God bless.
God bless.
God bless.
God bless Charlie.
Yeah, stinks in there.
Stinks in there.
Yeah, wow.
Like a
Can't
whole...
imagine how he's doing.
Up to the neck in it, probably. Do you know Charlie Kirk's favourite band?
I want to say Green Day.
Neck Deep. His second favourite band? Nickelback.
Those are the two places the guy was going to hit.
True. Nickelback.
Neck or back.
He was really neck and neck for who I hated more, him or Trump.
Right now he's butt naked on Mortician's...
Jesus.
He's probably trying to tell them not do abortion.
So he'll find her, he'll come back to life to be like, make sure you don't abort anything.
Charlie.
Rest in peace, Charlie.
Charlie, you stay in there.
No more. Charlie, if you're in the room with us, knock twice. Wait. Charlie, if you're in the room with us, knock twice. Charlie!
Wait, Charlie.
I'm back from the dead! I don't believe in abortion!
Charlie, what's the conservative heaven really like?
Very hot! My neck hurts!
Oh, Charlie.
Oh, Charlie.
The woke agenda is... Okay,
Enough out of that guy.
Yeah, poor guy.
I mean, just absolute scumbags. Absolute scumbags. And Leilani Dowding, look, you know I'm a free speech absolutist. I'm not one of these people that thinks comedy should be censored. Certainly on our side of the argument, we're not calling the police. Do you know what I mean? Lock these two men up. But what we have to do, Leilani, is wake up. We've got to wake up about the evil degeneracy which is just spreading through the left. People who look like they're normal people are actually extremists, and it is causing political violence.
Dan, I think you're right. That was really hard to watch, actually. I'm disgusted. I can't even say much about that because that's absolutely vile, disgusting, and not even remotely funny. I don't know how anyone could actually find that comedic. But as you said, I am a free speech absolutist. If they want to say that, let them expose themselves for the absolute fucking demons they are, because that is disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. And what's scary is, like you said, it's not always the blue hair and the septum ring which give us a visual warning. It's nurses, people in education, firefighters, police, people that you think might help you in a situation, then go and celebrate the death or laugh about it. Now, like I said, I want them to be able to say what they want so we see who they are. So I'm not calling for them to be locked up and go to jail, unless, of course, it's a threat. Threats are completely different. I've seen threats saying, kill this person next. I want to see this person.
But there have been threats against Nigel Farage, also on the TikTok platform, Lizzie, which have been completely ignored. The police have said they're not taking any further action. So I'm sorry. Look at the lawfare that your family has been under, Lizzie, and that Lawrence Fox has been targeted for. You just know if he had made a video like that, Lizzie, he would be in jail. There is total hypocrisy when it comes to the way that the left and the right are policed.
Well, it's like the media. We see the side that they promote and the narrative that they push. It's the same when you have people like you just said. If Lawrence did a video like that, they would have been banging our door down. You know that. They would have been arresting him for it. But first and foremost, he would never do a video like that. That is utterly vile and disgusting. Like yourselves, I believe in free speech. And I agree with Lani, it just exposes those people for who and what they are. But I also think you get a lot of these people doing it because it's clickbait. Because if they can get the outrage, they're going to get, more TikTok followers, or they're going to go viral. So it's disgusting that they use somebody's death to try and do that. And I have seen some disgusting posts on social media during, everything that happened and the past week from Charlie's passing and being murdered. And I think it's really, really shown me the negative side of social media, but also how people really lack humanity to speak what they speak and to wish it on other people. And the thing is, if Nigel Farage obviously has had death threats, I think if you're in the public eye, you're going to be exposed to crazy people, extremists that go against your beliefs and your views and what you stand for. But what I think is wrong is that they will mention it if it's somebody who pushes ideologies that they like, but they won't highlight that it's bad or even expose that a person has come under death threats or whatever, violent threats, because they are part of an ideology or beliefs and stand for things that you're not pushing.
Very, very true and very well put. I want to cross now to Phoenix, Arizona, and the headquarters of Charlie Kirk's Turning Point USA, where our friend Joseph Moulton is live. He is, of course, the founder of Flag Force UK, which has been raising the colours up and down Britain. And Joseph, I mean, in, I guess, one of the most chilling and also really devastating twists of fate, you were flying to Arizona to meet with Charlie Kirk about him backing your incredible campaign, but that meeting never went ahead because of his assassination.
Yeah, it was incredibly shocking. Literally, the assassination had happened 30 minutes before I landed. The moment everybody kind of got signal on the plane, you heard these gasps. I also, my own phone got spammed, 30 different messages saying, literally saying, Charlie Kirk, check Twitter. I thought perhaps because we kind of had this communication with the Turning Point team and we were looking to make something happen while I was here, perhaps he retweeted something or made some sort of reference to us. And then I did open Twitter and I was greeted with that gruesome video. And there just were no words. It felt sort of surreal, particularly when Charlie's someone who I've definitely followed over the years, and to kind of be within that sort of touching distance now and, looking to kind of go forward and get his support on what we're doing for them to then be taken from us. It just kind of felt like the most strange timing. It was been really kind of hard for me to get over.
Of course, because I imagine it would have been we know it would have been a massive boost to have Charlie Kirk backing the Raise the Colours campaign, which presumably you were hoping he would do.
Yes, so we're looking to perhaps get some sort of podcast format. We're still in negotiations. I was headed to Phoenix anyway. This had been booked actually before I was going to go and do the whole Raise the Colours stuff. So it kind of felt like good timing. I had some friends over here. They said they could put me in contact, and then that was kind of being worked on for me to arrive. So it was actually probably supposed to be today that I was supposed to meet with the team and really figure out the logistics of everything. And it's just, at the moment I left the plane, I came straight here and was greeted with this vigil instead.
And talk to me. I mean, I know you were at the vigil last night as well. Mm-hmm. Talk to me about what's happening there. What is the mood? Is there anger? Because I think one thing, Joseph, which really is worth pointing out, and I've seen American politicians quite rightly make the point, if this had been a major figure on the left, there would be cities in America burning to the ground. But actually, once again, hasn't the right, the conservative movement, proven that we can deal with these situations in peace?
Yeah, I mean, the average person here, the tone is really one of mourning, a lot of prayer. I mean, this is the Tuesday. It's been 6 days since he's passed, and this is 10 a.m. local time. It's about 35 degrees out, and there's still people here constantly. There has been since, the first few nights, there were huge crowds as pictured on the screen there. A whole lot of prayer, a whole lot of kind of people sort of giving their testament of what Charlie meant to them. But even I did a couple of interviews with people just on the street about what Charlie meant to them and how America moves forward from here. And really what they did underline is that Charlie wouldn't have wanted violence. He'd have wanted more discussion. And I feel like it has created this massive platform to actually discuss, well, we do have a huge problem with political violence. Even in the UK, myself, I was attacked last week. Prior to coming here, while we were up a ladder, some man tried pushing us off a ladder 2 stories up. We managed to bail off it. Yeah.
So where were you? So you were doing the Raising the Colours campaign?
Yes.
Which area were you in?
In York. And a man came, literally pulled his car off the side of the road, came running out. I've submitted a police report. We've given our statements where that go will be questionable. We had to bail off the ladder as we saw him running over. He then proceeded to push the ladder into me. Again, we didn't respond violently. He was a man in his 60s. And I think, even though he's attacked us, we know that we can't respond. The headline will be Flag Force found a punches pensioner or something. So, but it's happening in the UK. It's become socially acceptable. This guy wasn't, as you were mentioning before, some blue-haired, septum-piercing individual. This was the sort of guy you might see in your local pub. And the media is responsible for this. And that was a sentiment I got when speaking to people here, that the responsibility is on the media. They use this dehumanizing language. They falsely label people as far right, as Nazis. And that is, it's not because it's a true statement. It's because it's to justify this sort of violence and to justify this sort of reaction. We've seen hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people on Twitter mocking his death, making jokes about it, using it for engagement farming. The society has a sickness, and that sickness isn't going to go away unless there is actual sort of a top-down approach to this, which I hope that the US government will take. But also we need to look at what's happening back home as well, because we seem to be following the same trends.
You're so right. But I mean, I'm completely horrified, Joseph, absolutely horrified to learn that putting up our national flag on the side of the street in the United Kingdom now makes you a target of political violence from the left. That is hugely concerning, maybe not surprising, but again, I believe we need to lean into this because it's what's happening. J.D. Vance hosted Charlie Kirk's radio show, his podcast, his brilliant podcast, and made some of these points. Listen to this.
Months ago, I headlined a fundraiser in Southern California, and since, we'd be out there anyways, my wife and I decided to take our kids to Disneyland one weekend. We had fun, and to be clear, most of the guests said very nice things, or they just left us alone. But there was a loud and very vocal minority that would shout at my children, who were 8, 5, and 3, whenever they got the opportunity. "You should disown your dad, you little shit," one middle-aged woman yelled at my 5-year-old. "Tell the Secret Service to protect the Constitution, not your father," screamed another. Are these women violent? Probably not. Are they deranged? Certainly. And while our side of the aisle certainly has its crazies, it is a statistical fact that most of the lunatics in American politics today are proud members of the far left. After Charlie died, one of his friends and one of our senior White House staffers had left-leaning operatives in his neighborhood passing out leaflets telling people what he looked like and where he lived, encouraging neighbors to harass him or, God forbid, to do worse. While he was mourning his dead friend, he and his wife had to worry about the political terrorists drawing a big target on the home he shares with his young children. Are these people violent? I hope not. But are they guilty of encouraging violence? You damn well better believe it.
I mean, Joseph, so powerful from J.D. Vance. And it really does feel like the US has stopped, but the division hasn't stopped. This isn't a death which has brought people together, which you might hope might be the case. You might hope that the left might wake up.
Yeah, it's been the reaction, I didn't expect it to be on the precedent and the sort of scale that it has. It's been quite hard to reconcile, particularly even seeing people in the UK and mainstream figures sort of mocking his death. I think we had the head of the Oxford Union, the student head, openly mocked his death. It's within our institutions. And I think you can also see with the two-tier policing and, the reaction of people supporting his death, calling for the death of other political figures in the UK, and there just being no police response. It has infected our courts, it's infected our political system and our media. And that is incredibly worrying. How do we tackle that as a nation when half the nation feels like something like this awful assassination is something to be celebrated? I just don't really know how we can reconcile that moving forward. It's going to be incredibly difficult, but these conversations need to be had, but inevitably they'll try to silence it.
Indeed. Joseph Moulton from Phoenix, Arizona. He is, of course, the head of the Flag Force UK campaign. Thank you so much. And goodness gracious me, it's just shocking, isn't it? Putting up an England flag on the side of the road, and you are subjected to a violent attack from the left. This is not a problem exclusive to the US. So Donald Trump is on his way. He has now boarded the flight. Air Force One is jetting from Washington, D.C. to Windsor Castle. But if the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, Slippery Starmer, was expecting a totally free ride, he might be mistaken. The Independent reporting that a free speech row threatens to derail Starmer's talks with Trump on the state visit as our government is mired in chaos. This exclusive report says that US concerns over free speech in the UK is expected to be high on the agenda between Starmer and Trump during the state visit, with the UK side in chaos because of Peter Mandelson's sacking. And the report says that an under siege Keir Starmer is facing a showdown with Donald Trump, which could derail crucial talks. Senior Washington sources have told The Independent, which is a left-wing newspaper, by the way, that free speech is now top of the president's agenda when he visits Chequers on Thursday for talks with the Prime Minister at the end of his trip. A source close to Trump revealed to The Independent that he berated Keir Starmer over free speech when the two held talks during the summer at the US president's Turnberry Golf Resort. The source said there is absolutely no doubt that free speech is going to be one of, if not the top issue, when the two hold calls. And what's very interesting is this idea that Trump in some way likes Starmer and believes in what Starmer is doing because of his positive public comments is starting to be torn apart. So listen to this from Alison Phillips of the Daily Telegraph, who writes, "Why do journalists buy the idea that the president gets along with Starmer? Trump toys with him. He knows he's weak. The administration thinks the UK is betraying free speech and Western values. They are alarmed by British Islamism. At some point, Trump will go for Starmer." And what's interesting is Alex Phillips responded to that, writing, "I have it on good authority from inside the administration that this is the case." So, to my superstar panel, Elizabeth Fox and Leilani Dowding. Leilani, it's interesting, isn't it? Because this state visit, of course, comes at a very difficult time for Donald Trump after the assassination of his close friend Charlie Kirk, but an equally devastating time for Starmer, Slippery Starmer, because I mean, Leilani, even The Guardian, I couldn't believe this, even The Guardian is now asking, can Keir survive inside the plot to bring down the Prime Minister? It really does feel like the end of days for his administration. At the same time, Leilani, I would like Trump to get tougher on Starmer on that issue of free speech.
Yeah, I think he really needs to. And as I've said to you, when I've gone around wearing my mega Make England Great Again hat, people have asked me what's going on with free speech because they've heard about people like Lucy Connolly getting locked up. And I think Trump really needs to push at him now because we know he's lying. Everyone can see it. There's actually another guy local to me, a guy called Nathan Paul. He just got put away for 30 months for a chant where the F is Allah. Okay, no violence. He might have said some abusive words, but again, no violence. He didn't throw anything. This was at the time of all those other riots that were going on. But again, he didn't do anything violent. It was words. So he did plead guilty, like Lucy Connolly. But as we know, Hugh Edwards pleaded guilty and got a suspended sentence. He pleaded guilty for child sex abuse images, and he didn't spend a single day in jail. So why has this man, Nathan Paul, been put in jail for a chant and no violent actions? So I think we can safely say that there is no free speech in England unless you want to threaten people like after the Charlie Kirk death. That seems to be going completely unpoliced, even the threats. As I was talking earlier on, I do believe in free speech. I think people should say what they want to say unless it's threats. And, you know, people have been making threats. So that's very different. So, yeah, I think Trump really needs to push on it, because there really isn't free speech in England if you're one of us.
Not even close. And I mean, it's also been so shocking, Lizzie, to see Starmer try and justify his Mandelson appointment, right? Given all of the links to Jeffrey Epstein. And you just know, if this had been a right-wing politician, the mainstream media would be all over the story. Instead, in this case, they seem to be buying Starmer's arguments, but it is laughable. Just watch this, his interview with Channel 4 News.
That I knew the contents of the Bloomberg emails. It was only very late on Wednesday when Peter Mandelson replied to the questions that had been put to him by government officials. And it was on that basis that I took my decision that he should be removed. What I knew before PMQs was that there had been media inquiries. I didn't know the content of the Bloomberg emails. And I knew that questions had been put to Peter that he had not yet answered. And he hadn't answered them by the time it got to PMQs. There is, of course, a time lag in America, but I knew that there are questions that have been put to him, but I didn't know what answers he was going to give to those questions. That came later on Wednesday. And that's why, at that point, I gave the answer I did at PMQs, and that's the extent of what I knew at the time.
I mean, Lizzie, it's laughable. He is laughable on so many levels. Now he's obviously going to war with the patriots who were there on Saturday. I don't believe he can survive.
No. I mean, we all know why he got in. People were so fed up with the Conservatives and their policies and immigration. But it's funny, he doesn't seem to do the background checks on his colleagues and the people that are involved with him, the same as he doesn't do the background checks and, you know, on the people that are coming into this country illegally. There seems to, he's consistent with that, I guess. But he's passing the buck in that interview as well. It's like, I didn't know, it's nothing to do with me. And as soon as I did know, I got rid of him. It's just one big club. It really is.
It really is. It really is one big club. Leilani, is there much excitement in the US about this state visit, or has all of the news oxygen been sucked up because of the trauma, really, that the country is facing because of the death of Charlie Kirk, the assassination, the murder of Charlie Kirk?
Yeah, I have to say, I think it feels very solemn at the moment. And a lot of people are sharing the sentiment that, you know, even though we didn't know Charlie Kirk, it's almost personal. And I don't think I've ever felt this way about the death of somebody that I don't know. But, you know, I've really been just so sad about it. And just, you know, I just haven't been like this before over someone I didn't know. And I think a lot of people
have said that to me. Yeah.
And it's, I think being in the USA, and you'd think, because I'm in Los Angeles, there'd be so many people, you know, that are really happy about it. But there's actually not. You know, I went to just one, there's been so many vigils for him. I went to just one of them in Beverly Hills. There have been so many people paying respects, but there's a fire that's been ignited now. I think, you know, there's been 30,000 requests for new Turning Point chapters. I think people want to fight on in his spirit. And when I say fight, I mean with words and debate and talking, not violence. And I think people want to carry his name forward. I do think it's, you know, it's been a turning point here that And
his
and I think people
wife,
feel different.
his wife, Erica, Lizzie, has just been utterly incredible, hasn't she? And stoic, and she gave that address, and she has posted on her social media that actually what's happened has made her even more determined, Lizzie, to keep her husband's memory alive.
Yeah, and I think that's the only way one can be. Like, it's just going to fuel that in you. And she is a true Christian. I can tell you, she is so classy. And I watched the address that she gave on his podcast, and I was in pieces. I was in tears the whole time, and how she explained the way she explained to their daughter, when their daughter asked, "Where's Daddy?" Honestly, I was just in pieces, and I agree with Lani as well. I've never met Charlie. I've listened to his podcasts, and he did a lot with Donald Trump when Donald Trump was campaigning and things like that. And I just thought he was a very gracious person. I loved how he promoted healthy debate, and I loved how he really could. He had so many mic drop moments when he would debate people, and they couldn't beat him in a debate. And I think that's why they've done what they've done. But yeah, I deeply feel for her and her children and their entire family and friends. It's just horrendous. But I think she will carry on Charlie's work. And I think that, it's just amplified his message that he was trying to convey to his country and to the world.
Yeah, indeed. Very, very well put. Thank you so much to my superstar panel, Elizabeth Fox, who is, of course, a freedom activist, legal expert. You can find her on X as California Frizz, and Leilani Dowding, the social commentator. Thank you both so, so much. And of course, we are going to reveal today's Greatest Britain and Union Jackass in just one moment. Thank you for your comments and especially your super chats today. Private Jose says, LBC are full on idiots. There were 3 million there, not 100,000. Craig Lee says there's only one race, the human race. This is about heritage and culture, right versus wrong, truth versus lies, good versus evil, love versus hate. Christ is king. And Shava2UK says 1 arrest per 80,000 in a demo must be a record. It is so few. There were clearly at least 2 million there. And by the way, only 8 people charged. I mean, it was actually a massive success story on a policing and a safety front. Okay, your Union Jackass nominees, a reminder: Ed Davey, nominated by Darren Donaldson for his embarrassing post following the Unite the Kingdom rally and trying to challenge Elon Musk. Paul Overton, nominated by Sarah Booth, the aide to Keir Starmer, who resigned after a rather risque game of shag, marry, kill involving the ever-lovely Diane Abbott. And Matt Fry of Channel 4 News, nominated by Alan Shawcroft for calling the Unite the Kingdom rally a far-right protest. Okay, with 11% of the vote is Paul Ovenden in third place. The runner-up with 15% of the vote, Matt Fry. And today's Union Jackass with 74% of the vote, the Liberal Democratic leader, Ed Davey. Oh, that face. God, he's annoying, isn't he? Okay, so we're moving over to Substack now for the Royal Uncancelled After Show. Still so much fallout from that Prince Harry interview, and we will be being joined by Angela Levin, www.outspoken.live if you want to sign up. But of course, I've forgotten Greatest Britain. I can't forget Greatest Britain because this was such an important one, actually, nominated by Met24 Met. And it may have been you. You may be our Greatest Britain today because it was everyone who attended the Unite the Kingdom rally on Saturday. And I just thought, usually I know we do an individual, but I just thought that was such a brilliant nomination. So huge congratulations. Okay, I'd love you to sign up to my podcast, by the way, on Apple Podcasts or Spotify if you can, www.outspoken.live for Substack, or you can just search Dan Wootton Outspoken on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or wherever you get your podcast feed. You will find us there. Please rate and review us because that's what really helps boost us up the algorithm. But I am back with you live tomorrow night, 5 p.m. UK time, midday Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. We will, of course, be covering Donald Trump in the United Kingdom. He touches down very soon. So hit subscribe on YouTube and Rumble, turn on the notification bell. Then you'll be alerted to our new episodes. And most importantly, I promise to keep fighting for you.